This is Curious Brain Farts.
Hello, Paul.
Oh, Louise, my darling. That's a good start.
What the actual hell was that?
I don't know, you started it. Don't look at me.
How art thou?
Amazing. Oh, dear.
Hey.
Yeah, great. How are you?
Also amazing.
Great. The end.
Bye, everyone.
See you next week.
Yes, good. So, what have you been doing since last we spoke?
Well, one has been busy. And that been doing quite a lot of music, actually.
Have you?
Just to change,
Cheeky.
the curve, direction, topic. No. Yes. Last week we spoke a lot about wech. And one of the things I've been doing a lot of is some music. And I am loving the music, which is nice.
What do you love about it?
Well, there's lots of things, actually. Sometimes it's therapeutic, sometimes it's really frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
The therapeutic side of it is when you get into flow and you're creating something and all of a sudden, like this, well, like with any instance of flow, it all just kind of pops out. As
flow.
It were. Sort of flows, plops out.
Ooh. That is unpleasant visually in one's imagination.
In your imagination. Anyway, so
Moving
yeah.
on.
How about you? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, not an enormous amount other than working.
9 to 5?
No.
Oh.
It is a way to make a living.
Is
Paul.
it?
However, I choose
Right.
a different, more flexible way.
Okay.
Parenting. I do like to play tennis.
I like to choose a more flexible way to work. Parenting. I like to play tennis.
keep up with my brain, dotting all over the place.
Yes.
So yes, playing a bit of tennis, working hard, parenting my young person
Amazing.
as they settle back into school, which is always a situation with some vibrancy in my experience.
Great.
The homework, yay.
Oh,
The maths tutoring, huzzah.
let's rerun all the fun.
The
please.
cries of delight.
Yeah, it's like, calm down. I know you love school so much. All right, just stop going on about it all the time.
Do you know, it does, just, anyway. Oh, the dog's barking, sorry about that.
Do you know what? We're recording at my place today, and it might be that one of said young people has just returned.
Aha.
Oh, yes, it is one of the young ones, the younglings.
Not Noah. Nigel and Roscoe, the dogs, have gone to welcome Noah as he comes.
Interesting fact
Yeah?
for all you lovely listeners. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, who is that proper legend who does welcome to Curious Brain Farts on the jingle, which
Yes.
you've just heard? Mm-hmm. So that is my lovely Noah.
The lovely Noah.
The lovely Noah. Noah, would you like to say hello to all the listeners?
Okay.
Come and say hello. They can't hear you. Well, they can. You can't hear them, that's what I mean.
No.
See? Amazing. Captain voiceover.
Thank you, Noah, you massive legend.
Nice to see you.
To see you nice.
See you nice.
Good. So there we are, and there you very much have it. And I know last week we had a good old rifle through the post bag, and what we thought we would do this week is dust off, and I do mean dust off, the random theme generator. It is coated in a thick crust of said dust.
And just bearing in mind the size of the bloody thing, because it is
Yeah.
like articulated.
Yeah. We should have given it a pressure wash.
That would have been a really good idea, actually.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Although, water in some of those connectors is probably not a
It's
great
not a
plan.
good idea. No, you don't want to leave water in a crevice, do
I'll
you?
tell you what we want to do. Get a massive thing of pressurised air. We used to squirt it in your keyboard and all the fluff would come out. But a giant one.
Sort of like the one that's used when people have abdominal surgery and then they end up doing massive farts.
Yeah,
for days.
bigger though. Bigger.
Bigger.
Go big or go home.
Go big or get home.
So,
Yeah.
with all that being true, we might have to give it, you might have to yank the old, when you start a lawnmower, what's that
Yes.
thing called?
The starter.
You might have to pull the starter vigorously, Paul.
Vibrant.
Give it a good old yank, my love.
Right. Hold on then.
Go on then.
I'm going to put my back out at this rate. Hold
Don't
on.
do that.
Random theme generator. Random theme generator.
And the theme is procrastinating.
Ooh, that's a good one. That is
Yeah.
a cracker.
I think I'll do it next time. I don't want to do it now.
Yeah, I think I'll just, do you know what? I think I'll just scroll on my phone for a bit.
What? Who would do that?
I think what I might do is mindlessly scroll through some videos. This is what I did yesterday.
Mhm.
I didn't do it for very long because I had a very busy day yesterday. But I did look at some people having their hair cut. This
love
woman,
that. Yeah.
she had an impressive amount of hair. Someone had stuffed up the haircut, or maybe she cut it herself.
Nightmare.
I'm not sure. She blah blah blah, and then so I get hooked. I'm like, I want to see what she looks like at the end.
Bald.
I wasn't. I have to say, I wasn't overly impressed. But there we are. Anyway, the point is, what was I procrastinating about? What was I avoiding? What was I mean, if you tot up, Paul, how much of your life has been spent procrastinating?
None. I've literally never done it. So.
Maybe you
here,
should. If you don't know what it means, maybe you should read out a definition.
Herein lies the reason why I've never done it.
Okay.
Because to procrastinate is to keep delaying something that must be done, often because it is unpleasant or boring. That's courtesy of Cambridge Land.
Right.
The action of delaying or postponing something. So obviously, I've never felt stuck by doing something boring or unpleasant. I've never put it off. I just dive straight in.
I tell you what comes straight into my wee noggin.
Instagram.
No, my tax return. HMRC, if you're listening to this, I now do it promptly and months in advance. But I used to be the person who on the 31st of January, in the evening, mark you, not in the morning.
No.
In the evening,
Let's-
I then try and find my unique tax reference number.
Oh my God!
Get all of the accounts, do
Love
all
that.
of the things, receipts, la-ba-dee-ba-doo-ba-da. I used to do that, and it would cause me so much stress. Not only that, but I have been in the back of my head into my little stress bucket.
Yeah.
I need to do my tax return. Oh, that tax return's coming up. I must get that done. And I put it off and put it off and put it off until I literally could not put it off any more. And then I would spend many hours in front of my computer, very stressed, no time to put it down, no time to do anything other than the task in front of me. And do you know what made me stop doing that?
Big fines.
No, I
A
never
prison
got-
sentence.
I went down for a two stretch, and now I'm a reformed character.
I'm a reformed tax submission person.
I never got fined because I always got it in on time. However, I was like, it was squeaky bum time on occasion.
That is woof.
So, well, that's procrastination at its absolute finest. Why?
And it's interesting because not even like the risk of it being late and getting a penalty or whatever, not even that's enough. For me, it's not like it's not necessarily about the consequences. It's more about what I attribute to it, how I feel about the thing. So, I mean, obviously, if there was a prison sentence involved, I'd be very motivated. And, the thought of getting a slap on the wrist and a fine or whatever, I mean, that's, okay, maybe a bit extreme. Like submitting my expenses, which I absolutely love. I do it instantly. Oh my gosh. Stop it.
There's never a pile of receipts.
There's
literally
never a pile of receipts. I'm going, what the hell is that? Never have I done that, just FYI.
So prompt.
I've never been like, oh my gosh, there's so much on my credit card right now.
No.
What-
I just don't know what you're talking about. Can't relate at all.
Can't relate at all. And even the thought of that, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to cover the credit card bill with thousands of pounds worth of expenses
If I
it.
don't claim them.
And sometimes that isn't enough and I suffer the consequences of like a late payment fee or whatever. I'm like, wow, what am I doing? You numpty.
You numpty boss.
So it is interesting.
So it's avoidance. So when I think about the tax return example, I don't do it that way anymore. And it's not because I suffered the consequences in the sense that I got a fine or anything, because I never submitted it late. However...
So, by the way, HMRC, there's no need to check. Because she's nailed it all. Okay, guys, everything's fine.
Everything's groovy.
Look over here.
So how did I do it? I read something and it was really, really interesting to me. And they said that when you
do it earlier.
Shut up, Paul. No, they said when you find something difficult to do, it is because you are focusing on the act of doing it. Even if there are some downstream consequences, you're not focused on that as much as you are. Oh my God, I've got all these receipts. How am I going to, I mean, there's a month's worth and and I did that trip to the States and in the very short term, and sometimes it is the very short term, it feels easier. So to avoid it, because you're focused on the pain of it. And this, and they said, in this article or book or whatever, I can't remember where I read it, but it really struck me, and because it said, focus on how it will feel to have done it, not how it feels in the... So future pace yourself, in other words.
Yeah.
And that, for me, I mean, we're all different, and I'm not saying that's a silver bullet by any means, but for me, that was enough, because I started thinking about all of the time that I was, and so I was able to kind of be a bit meta, come out of my situation and look down on it, and actually, how do I feel when I've submitted it? And I really focused on that, and I put a reward in.
Mm-hmm. Wine and crisps. That's the way we roll.
Plus chocolate.
Oh, legend.
Let's get in the sweet and salty.
Oh.
Let's jump on that roundabout.
Shall we? That does not at all attach to like our thingy brain, I can't think what it's called now. The sweet and salty and fat. That's like the trifecta.
Yeah.
Get that bad boy in there, and then it's like... Anyway.
Anyway, moving on.
So the thing I was thinking about, I had a really, really great session with one of my clients who was struggling with procrastination around a number of things. And it was brilliant. Why was it brilliant? Because, one, they're a legend.
Obviously,
because they've selected, right? They're a legend. And the session was great because what was underneath it for them were these stories that they tell themselves. Like, for example, procrastination. So you need to do something, you start putting it off, And then you go, oh, you stupid idiot, what are you doing that for? I shouldn't have put that off. Oh, I should just do it. Yeah, well, I can't face it now. And anyway, I don't like feeling like this, so I'm going to go over here and do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do this thing for a while and you avoid that. And then you go, oh my gosh, right, well, I really ought to be doing something about this. And this isn't good for me. And I'm no good. And I'm no good at this because, and then you start again. Because I'm a stupid idiot. I shouldn't be doing this. It's a waste of my time. I go off to avoid feeling like that. I then come back around and go, oh, look, see, you're not good enough. You still made no progress. And back round you go. And it's circling around shame. So for them, it was really helpful to tune into that, to notice how they're talking to themselves when they are procrastinating, not the thing they're procrastinating about. And when you start noticing how you're talking to yourself, they very quickly came to the place where they could see many examples, which they'd not tuned into before, of how they had got themselves out of the cycle of that shame.
Nice.
And it was obviously like massively transformational. It was a huge thing that they've never thought of before. It was actually, I was trying to be funny, it didn't work. It's very, very straightforward. What is the one tiniest thing I can do? Just the tiniest thing, like with the expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go to log into the system?
Yep.
Maybe I could do that.
Yeah.
And once I've logged into the system, I'm like, well, maybe I could find the first receipt or create the expense report or whatever.
Yeah.
And these tiny, tiny, tiny steps. And then they started tuning into, oh, well, hold on. When I do this, that I've been avoiding, and then I go, well, what tiny step can I do? What I find is I end up doing a load more than I thought I could. And then I end up achieving the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so epic to see how, one, they already knew.
Yeah.
Surprise. Oh, hello. One, they already knew how to do things differently for themselves. And it did start with noticing and very quickly went to, what's the tiniest thing I could do?
It is fascinating because there is always an underlying story to the procrastination, in my opinion. And if you take my tax return example, the underlying story was, I'm not good at things that involve numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not good at admin, which is also why I struggle with expenses, because it's both of those things as well. So that's a story. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. And it links actually all the way back to when I was a kid and I really, really struggled with maths. I felt stupid and I felt exposed. And that was uncomfortable. And I felt, to your point, some shame about that. So I was keeping myself safe from feeling absolutely awful. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. So when I turned and looked at it with some compassion and some kindness, without, and that example you give of, going, right, you're knobhead. Why haven't you done
exactly.
That just keeps you stuck in a vicious circle. If you turn to it with kindness and go, okay, okay. Because when I actually looked at the act of doing it, even when I did that, once I come up into this more reflective headspace, it's actually pretty easy. It's actually really easy. It's well within my capabilities.
Yes.
If I remove the story, or if I tell a different story.
I find it interesting how persistent my own stories are. Even when I think about expenses, I'm just like, oh, I just don't want to do it. It's like, hello, cooey.
What's the story?
The
in Balamori.
The story is, I would say for me, I find it overwhelming to try and get all the things in the right order. There's a lot of accuracy needed. Is this one with VAT, without VAT? Is this category, that category? And it's not that it's complicated or
No.
anything like that. There's a bloody great big mess of bits of paper, and then I've got to try and work through it. I have the same, for example, generally with physical things. Actually, just thinking about it, like I've been wanting to sort my clothes out for ages.
Right.
I haven't been able to. I've been putting it off and putting it off because it's too overwhelming. I just can't cope. I don't know, like there's no space to put anything.
Right.
So what am I supposed to do with it all?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense
Yeah.
to me. And in the end, my wife, she, without being asked, she just did it.
Right.
And she said, I need, yeah. And what she'd done is put them all into, it's so much easier for me that it was all into certain piles, and there's this and there's that, and there's the things that are too big, too small, summer, winter, bloody, bloody, blah. And that didn't feel overwhelming at all.
But the big pile did.
The big pile. Go back to the receipts.
Yeah.
Keep all your receipts. Right, okay. And then I've always got a tatty envelope or something. You stuff everything in there, and you're like, oh, for goodness.
That's
me.
the equivalent of your clothes pile.
Precisely. Or you take pictures. Now, I do find it easier taking pictures because it's not physical, it's digital.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can tolerate that better. I do find it very interesting. Like my work stuff on my computer is very tidy. I haven't got stuff everywhere, files all over the place.
No.
It's all very organised.
Yes.
Yet with physical things, I find that difficult.
So what you're talking about is how you started to scaffold it for yourself, because you're aware that in a digital form you find it easier than in a physical one. So you take the photos, and then that would be easier for you to sort them digitally in date order, for example.
Exactly.
And then you'd be like, okay, all of these relate to that project, and all of these relate to that trip, and it's easier for you to do. So it's the equivalent of sorting it into piles.
Exactly. And so the story is that I find I'm not good enough because I find it overwhelming.
Other people can sort their clothes out.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I can't it's somewhere in all of those procrastination stories. I can't do that, you see. Other people can, but not me.
Yeah, I can't find the time. I can't do it. I can't cope. I can't, there's lots and lots of things that are going on there.
So procrastination is, as with everything that we do that potentially looks not fantastic, it's actually designed to keep us safe, and it's designed to enable us to keep functioning. It's not a long-term strategy to procrastinate over your expenses.
No.
We do it, we get it. However, it's a very, procrastination's often like an emergency first aid kit. In the moment, it can get you to feel a little bit better.
And if you don't spend any time bringing it into the conscious, your subconscious will just take over and allow you to keep numbing yourself or applying the first aid or whatever.
Yep.
Which is why you can end up on like a YouTube journey for 4 hours and not even know that you've done it.
Yep.
So procrastination, I think, is something hugely fascinating.
But yeah, I agree. It is hugely fascinating, and it's part of the human condition, and we all do it. And it's not a character flaw; it's a safety valve for discomfort. And so, in that way, if we notice that we've got, procrastinating about this, procrastinating about that, how uncomfortable is it? Because some procrastination, it's just like, I know I need to dust the windowsill.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm just not about it. I'm
over it.
CBA.
Yeah. TLDR.
So that's not going to really damage anything if I dust it next week and not this week.
No.
And some procrastination has much more significant downstream.
So how about this then? Imagine, so there might be someone who's a super legend, massive, awesome. They've like mastered themselves completely.
Right.
Therefore, they say, "Oh, well, I never procrastinate." So the opposite of procrastination is doing everything all the time. So, which is interesting. So you're never putting anything off. You're always doing everything that needs to be done, always at the right time, no matter how boring or unpleasant or whatever. When do you sit down and chill?
Well, you can always, because procrastination is maybe.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Roscoe, for that alert. So the avoidance that procrastination is, sorry, I've been slightly distracted by the dogs doing their thing.
We're keeping it real, man.
Yeah,
That's
man.
the way we do it.
All right, Nige. So the when do you sit down and chill? I don't think the opposite of procrastination is endless tasks. I think that procrastination is you facing into the things that need to be done and doing them in an efficient way, which leaves you time to sit and chill, because you've got the discernment to say, well, the impact of me not dusting the windowsill today is pretty negligible, and therefore I'm going to choose not to do it.
I guess where I was trying to get to is procrastination always a negative, because it's described as putting off something that's boring or unpleasant.
That's a really good point of view, actually, Paul. Is it always a negative? I mean, we've talked about it like it is universally negative, but I don't know that it is, actually, if you talk about it in that way.
Because that is maybe not mindful attention. Maybe it is, this like automatic system to provide that pressure valve. So it can absolutely be a positive or a good thing for someone. Endless procrastination will make most people feel rubbish.
Yeah, I think that depending on what you're procrastinating about and how unpleasant it is and what the impacts of that procrastination are, I mean, at its worst, it can wreck your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you procrastinate, let's say you get done for speeding, or I don't know, take one of those more official parts of procrastination, and you don't get your car MOT'd, or do you know what I mean? And
you avoid going to the doctors to have an exam for something
even
suspicious.
though you know that you should, you procrastinate about it, and it's fear-based, all of that. And so maybe if you're procrastinating about something big, then there's an acknowledgement that you need some support, you need some scaffolding, in the same way that your wife sorted out your clothes into piles. You might need, you might need to reach out for some support from somebody or something to help you with the things that you're procrastinating about.
It's funny because even just hearing that example replayed back, it sounds so silly, so pathetic. The old shame bell is ringing.
Yeah, and I think we have to look into it with kindness and compassion. We can't, the example you gave at the very start was that, somebody was giving themselves a right good kicking. That just pushes you back into the procrastination vicious
100%.
circle. It does not break the cycle. Giving yourself a hard time is not the way out.
It's kind of like that film Inception, You know, where it's a dream within a dream within a dream.
I haven't seen it.
All
don't
right,
I?
okay, love.
Sorry, love.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, I don't think I've seen it.
And some other people.
Right.
I know a lot of detail about this
Other
film.
actors are available.
Yeah, there were some other cast.
I haven't seen
Anyway,
it.
the concept being, the reason why I mention it is because it's so you procrastinate and then you shame yourself. You're procrastinating because you're avoiding something that to you is boring or unpleasant. So your medicine for that, your strategy for that, is
Yeah.
to procrastinate.
Yeah.
You then feel rubbish because you're procrastinating, which feels unpleasant. So you then go back round to avoiding it. And then before you know where you are, you could be doing like 3 layers deep of procrastination.
3 layers deep. Wow.
Well, do you see what I mean?
I do see what you mean.
And so even the procrastination can change. Well, I feel bad. I've been scrolling on TikTok or whatever nonsense for other things for so long. I'm now going to go and do something else, which is still procrastinating because it's avoiding doing the thing that you were originally doing. You're now avoiding doing the thing that you were doing. And do you see what I mean? And
I do.
Oh, well, that's not procrastinating though, because, I'm doing something else. And it could look like it's being productive.
Yeah, it could.
Oh, I'm going to just go and fold the washing because I've just been on. Hold on a minute, you still haven't done your expenses. Yeah, I know, but I was on.
That washing isn't
Instagram
going to
or-
fold itself.
That won't fold itself. So
Right.
I'm going to go do that now.
Yeah.
Right. Even though that thing is boring
And unpleasant.
and unpleasant. So it's really, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is really interesting because the bottom line is that, to your point, noticing it is the key. Noticing it and being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And the smallest, almost imperceptible step that you could take.
Exactly.
The absolute time. So the pile of clothes is far too overwhelming. Just identify one pair of socks you want to keep. That's it. Or whatever, one top. That's it.
Yeah, and it could be, spend 30 seconds making a start and see where you are in 30 seconds time. And
Yeah.
you can decide to do that again.
Yeah.
And again and again. Yeah. Like the person that I was talking to the other day, they had many, many, many examples of how once they tuned into that strategy, they had many examples of how they had been using it for themselves already, unconsciously, with where they were tuned into right at the start. You were talking about, the end state and future pacing yourself and how the end state was more appealing.
Yeah.
Well, that was for certain things. Like one example was exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew they felt better after exercise. They just didn't want to do the distance, for example.
Right.
And so they were like, well, maybe I'll just do 1 more kilometre or I'll just do 1 more lap
Yeah.
or just 1.
Yeah.
And they found that they always hit their goal.
It's really, really interesting.
So just take
Bite-sized
that
chunks.
even smaller.
Even smaller.
I'm just going to put my gym kit on.
Yeah.
I don't have to do. I had an example of that tactic working super well for me when I gave up smoking.
Yeah.
I carried everything with me.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to smoke roll-ups because I preferred them, and I kept everything on me. And I just chose moment by moment. I'm not going to have a cigarette. Instead, I'm going to have some chewing gum or whatever.
Knowing that you could have one if you wanted one.
Knowing it was there if I wanted one, and it was that tiny step by tiny step. Oh, lovely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We love it.
We've got
I'm
some
just
dogs.
off to go scroll on Instagram. For a
Right,
bit.
excellent. You go to Instagram. I'm going to put off taking the dog OUT.
Don't say it.
No, because he's looking at me. He's really looking at me now because he's like, I can tell you're talking about me. Not because I don't want to, because I'm busy.
because you find it boring.
I find boring.
If you were more interesting, Roscoe, you'd go OUT, but you're not. So
So
that's
tough.
very much a you problem.
And what I love about this episode is that you're not boring or unpleasant. So therefore, I want to do more.
Boom! Right back at you.
Well then, we best get on and do the things. Oh my gosh, have you thought that maybe we are now procrastinating?
OMG.
Can you imagine, like, we're putting off doing lots of other things that we ought to be doing? I mean, we have no examples of procrastination.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Even in business, we don't. I mean,
I just got no frame of reference.
no.
I'm all at sea.
Yeah, a bit lost. I don't know what you're on about.
No.
Yeah, shame. Maybe people can write in and tell us what procrastination is really like, because we have no idea.
No, exactly that.
Oh, shame. Well, do write in, actually. Yeah, if you want to get involved and tell us something
Curious
about
brain
something.
farts, Paul.
At
Gmail.
you could put a .com in there as well.
You could. You could indeed. That would make the thing delivered.
That would basically comply with SMTP.
All right. What's SMTP?
Something like Standard Messaging Transport Protocol, something like that. Yeah, that's how emails are sent. Well, they were in the olden days. Do you know our Nan, bless her, when emails came about and they were like brand new or something, she said to me once, she said, "Paul, who delivers them then?"
Oh, love her.
I was like, oh.
She just could not wrap her brain around the World Wide Interweb and emails.
No.
That wasn't a thing for her.
No, that wasn't a thing.
No.
No, and even
She stopped at Encyclopedia Britannica and the Postman.
it's like, right, but who's posted it then?
Yeah, she didn't get it, love her.
Yeah, bless her. I mean, she'd be how old now?
I don't know. She died a long time ago.
She'd be over 100 then.
Would
No,
she?
I don't know. I was just thinking how old Dad is.
Yes, she probably would be.
Guys, this is a really interesting
We are
conversation.
officially procrastinating to end the episode.
I mean, just in case you needed an example.
It's just a case study. You're welcome.
my
It's not real.
God.
It's just literally we're acting now.
Literally acting. Oh my God.
You are welcome.
Literally so welcome. Shall we go then?
Yeah, I need a wee.
Oh, fine. Nah. She's going for a wee.
I'm not going to procrastinate about that.
No, please don't. That'd be all over me sofa. Right, we'll see you next time.
Best wishes.
Bye.
Curious Brain Thoughts.